Call this meeting to order.
Okay, you guys all have to click OK, I think, because you just got the message about it's being recorded.
All
And
right.
do you want me to share the screen with the agenda, Dan?
Yeah, I suppose we should show that once. But I don't recognize Marla. Should I? I'm sort of scatterbrained. Do we have a guest?
We do, but do we have, are you guys seeing this on your screen? The agenda?
No. Yeah, I am.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And we do have a guest. Well, we're all guests. We're all equal participants and guests.
So let's have introductions. I'm Dan Kegel. I'm an engineer who lives on Harvard.
I thought you were going to say in a spaceship. I'll go next. I'm Elizabeth. Dan and I actually co-founded a climate group about 5 years ago, and we are now here on the sustainability committee together. I live in West Adams Avenue.
And hi, I'm Teresa Masonette. I also live in West Adams Avenues, and I'm new to the committee.
And I'm Laura Myers, and I live in Angeles Vista on Gramercy by Washington. And well, we're all new to the committee because the committee just kind of started back up less than a year ago. And I am currently the president of UNNC, but really the land use chair. That would be my bigger claim to fame. And Marla went away.
Oh
What's
no,
Marla?
Was it something we said?
I guess we were too boring. Darn.
Okay, well, anyway, I've got the your agenda posted in the screen, and you can see. Just as a reminder, do you want to approve this agenda? Let me take it down.
Yes. All in favor of this agenda, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Motion carries. Any announcements before we start, or public comment? Hearing none.
Wait. I can announce that Teresa has officially been appointed to be UNNC's liaison to the Urban Forestry Division. Whatever that means, we voted, you're it. Now we have to figure out how to implement it, but you're it.
Thank you. I have some tree things I'd like to share too. So, and we're 13 minutes into our meeting, so we're running a little late.
Well, I guess that comes a little later. We have trees all over the rest of the agenda. So let's move on and review and approve the last minutes. Laura, would you care to put those up, or should I?
I think this one you have to, because I know I posted them into the things, but I don't know where they are right now on my computer hard drive.
Okay.
So if you can't find them, I suspect I know where to find them.
No, I believe I know where they are. Mm-hmm.
And I apologize. I'm a little bit of medicine head here.
I sympathize. All right, I have the minutes. And I do not know if I have a share button.
Yep. Oh. Well, I've made you the co-host, so you should have a share button, depending on what program you're using. Oh, well, let me see if I can find the minutes.
I found it.
Okay.
I have the share button.
Cool.
I hate computers.
But you're an engineer.
Yes.
What do you engineer?
Computers. Why? Why is this not showing up? This is really annoying. desktop. I guess that must be it. Oh, I know why I didn't show up.
Okay, well, if you need me to, I now have them, I have the ability to share it because I found them on my computer. So would you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure, why not?
I would say
Whatever.
you can give up and I'll just do it.
I'm fighting a Macintosh.
Oh, I love Macs, but I don't know if I
Yeah.
love them for Zoom. Okay, can you, like, except for one thing, that's not working. Can you guys see that now?
We can see about half of it.
Yeah, that I
Oh, there we
understand.
go.
I can,
There we go.
All right, I don't think we need to read it out loud since everybody has video, although zooming in might be useful.
oh, now you want me, I just made it smaller. Now you want me to make it bigger again?
Well, I can
Okay,
read
it's
it either
fine,
way.
it's fine, I can do it.
Hmm.
Got it? Excuse me. And yes, I have a cold, I don't have COVID.
Good.
I've
You can scroll
already
further.
Tell me when to
read through
scroll
them, so you
farther.
guys drive.
Great notes. Great notes.
Yeah, do you want me to keep scrolling now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So that was the, now we're at the update on the KYCC. And
Mm-hmm. Right. I saw a composting bin at the Carver site.
wait, what? It's Carver on, are we talking about the minutes? No.
Yeah, the minutes, Elizabeth is excited about composting, and I remember seeing the composting bins at the Seeds of
Ah,
Carver
got it,
site.
got it,
Well,
got it.
focus. We just need to approve the minutes.
I'm gonna
Okay.
approve.
So are we, yeah, we
Minutes
need a
approved.
motion to approve those darn minutes.
Okay. Oh, I move that we approve those minutes that we just
We
read.
have a second.
I second.
Teresa
Okay, all in
seconded.
favor, raise your hand or say aye.
I
Okay. Passes unanimously.
am stopping the
Yay.
share. Okay. And closing those down.
So on to update on the tree program.
Okay.
Laura, what
The money application got turned in. And then it got turned in a second time because it got turned in with almost perfection, but then a typo, Greg made a typo. It's just weirdly unbelievable. So instead of writing 3996 on the form that turns it in, because everything else said 3996, he wrote 3999. So instead of just changing it, instead of the city clerk just changing it, they rejected it, but allowed him to resubmit it. I know. It's like, I mean, it's fine. At least they allowed us to resubmit it. And KYCC has been great. They signed whatever they needed to sign and turned in things real fast. So on the financial side, this is, I don't want to say speeding, but appears heading for full approval of that down payment, that first year of watering.
Wow, what a difference that's going to make, and how much we needed in this drought too.
Yes, but we still need 2 more years of money. We have to figure that out. But we're not going to worry our pretty little heads tonight. We're just going to take our glorious victory and celebrate that with some fake Zoom champagne. If only we had that.
So when will we know that it's approved?
Well, that's a really good question. But I mean, there's nothing more we can do. There should be no reason why it's not approved. it has the benefit of, in effect, being two pots of money. So they're deeming it not higher than $5,000. So they're not contracting it. They're just saying it's encumbered funds from one year and then new funds from this year. So it's being treated as if it's almost two NPGs, apparently. So, or at least that's what I'm hearing. So that's a good thing. So we don't have to wait for a contract. Although there's a part of me that says I'd really like to have a contract, but you know. So meanwhile, Dan, I think they did send us yet another spreadsheet, and this time it had 33 trees on it. So we don't have money for 33 trees. I mean, clearly, because we don't have money for 25. But so I think.
No bother.
And my only other update on all of this, well, there's two other updates.
Hang on one second.
In the meantime,
Hello,
after
Dan.
that last tour, and Dan just got on the phone, so I'll say this part next. In the meantime, also, I've tried very hard to talk to folks at LAUSD, and everybody is doing this. You know, you should talk to the principal first. But when I call the school, they say, we don't talk to anybody. And, you know, so I talked to facilities, and there's so many trees that died and so many that didn't die, but, you know, on Washington outside the school that, you know, I really want to know, will they commit to somehow maintaining those trees? You know, so that would also reduce our costs if they would commit to, you know, if we plant new ones, will they
Which
water
school
them?
is this? Is this
It's a
06?
Carson Gore. I mean, it's the height
Carson
of irony.
Gore. Oh
The
my
environmental
goodness.
magnet or the environmental academy won't even call me back regarding the trees that they planted but which have died. You know,
I hear you.
and
That's it.
facilities is saying, oh, you know, you've got to talk to the school. And it's like, but you know, they don't wanna. So okay, well, anyway, Dan's walked off. The other thing is a car seems to have crashed into yet another tree on Washington near his house on the south side of Washington. So there's a tree not on the list.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So, you know, I don't really know what to do about all of that. But I mean, at some point, what I know we do need to do is make some final decisions about which wells. And I need to also, we need to have a side list. You know, in our big grid, we now need to have within the grid, another column where those cages are surrounding, you know, cages sitting in wells where there are no trees. The cages have to be removed. And I'm asking the council office to take responsibility for that and taking back the cages. Because it's not like we can throw them in the trash. They belong to the council office.
Yeah, the only
So I
reason
need to
we're getting rid of
identify
it-
those locations.
The only reason why we're getting rid of the cages is because the KYCC won't plant when there's a cage, correct?
I think it's a city rule too.
That you can't have a cage around a tree?
Yeah, well, I don't know why we ever did have cages around the trees. I
It
mean, they
protected
certainly are
them.
not preventing car accidents.
No.
They
Oh,
may
did
be
you see?
preventing so Dan, what I was going to say is there's another tree down by your house on your side
know.
of Washington that's
Yeah.
not on our list, but maybe needs to, you know, be evaluated because I think the tree is dead.
Yeah. Oh, it's very dead. I've got
Very,
pictures.
very dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it a big tree?
No.
Couple of years.
Well, no, what's the sad thing is these trees that look like they're only a couple of years old are the ones we planted more than a couple of years ago, but they're not flourishing because they were
Right.
not watered routinely.
Mhm.
So,
I want to hear Teresa's good news.
Yeah, no, I don't have any good news. Actually, I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed. Let me just go back to the cages. We're talking on Washington Boulevard,
right.
and we have empty cages on Washington Boulevard that belong to the council district.
Correct.
And we need them to find some way to remove those cages.
Correct.
All of the empty cages have to be removed from Crenshaw to Arlington.
All
Western?
of the ones that will be where we choose to plant trees.
Well,
Yeah, they have to be.
Eventually, won't we choose to plant trees on all the empty tree wells? Yes,
Probably.
so why not say, remove all of them now? Instead of just like, well, move these 10 because we're planting 10 trees now. We need these fucking 50 things moved right now, take them out because we're gonna move forward with our trees. And it may be, we're gonna come up with a comprehensive plan. We're gonna do 20 now and 20 in 2 years or
Mhm.
whatever it is, but we will not be waiting around for the council district to remove the cages like we are now.
Okay, well, basically, I think that's a very good point. But what Danielle Mero, who's the field deputy for that area, told me is she needs the exact addresses. So whether we only identify the wells we're working with or all of them, it doesn't matter. We still need to add a column to our spreadsheet where it's cages by grid that are on vacant wells. I mean, I don't know any
Okay.
other way to say it. So that I can then give her.
Okay, hold on, Laura. So what we need now, if I understand you, is, and I'm willing to do this, to walk from Crenshaw to Western and to identify the exact address of every single cage.
Yeah.
I would like, if, like Dan just said, we shouldn't have cages around trees anyway. So why can't they just cut those cages out? Can't we just remove all the cages?
I don't know.
That's your enthusiasm for removing cages is salutary, but I'm not sure that it really buys as much. It might even annoy the council district.
Right.
Okay.
So-
So if
so-
I understand correctly, now I'm engaged in some kind of political thing. We have to be nice to them and stuff like that.
No, it's
I
more
don't
like
think-
they've got a guy who can go out and do stuff, but he's busy. And as a favor to us, he'll, remove cages for us.
Okay, well,
So now
Yeah.
because we're getting what we need because they want to do us a favor? Is
No,
that what-
no, it's just,
Can I say something?
yeah.
To me, the cages represent a beautification attempt along Washington some years ago that I still think is super, that idea. So I don't have a problem with the cages, especially when there's a healthy tree around them. I would plant a tree in a cage to protect it if it does. I think it does, and it's pretty, and it says something about our care for the neighborhood, but KYCC will not, and the city, I guess, will not. So in order to plant any of those trees, to have them, we have to have the cages removed. I would hope that the council district would save them in case we can use them in another place or some homeowner wants
Right.
a cage on their tree. I think they're charming. But, Teresa, it's actually from one person who's been doing this for years now, keep that sugar, keep that, like that you can attract more flies with sugar or with honey. Doing this long-term, we have to be building relationships with people and making people feel good about working with us,
Yeah,
because
but
I'm just saying, friend to friend.
Yeah, but then we get nothing done.
Oh, no, I totally understand the desire to get something done. I am totally focused on getting something done. And that's actually why I recommend that we focus on getting this tranche of trees planted and removing the cages that are in the way of that, rather than aiming higher. Because the more we're focused on the task at hand, the higher the chances that we get it done. That's sort of been our MO for the last few months because time was short and we needed to focus.
right. So, well, this is what I'm going to say. So Teresa, you and I guess James would want to walk that walk and take notes because you want to do it by yourself.
Is there any other way? It's only from Crenshaw to Washington to Western. It's like, that's a nice afternoon walk. If
It's a
that's
nice
what is
afternoon walk, but it's all the way
necessary-
to Normandy, unfortunately. It's not
Oh,
just
you-
Western. Be all the
It's
way to
not
the
an unreasonable
cemetery and
walk.
back. So it'd
It's
be a bit of a walk.
It's reasonable.
But
You
I'm
can do it.
Yes, I am willing to walk from Crenshaw to Normandy
Okay,
to identify the empty cages that need to be removed.
okay.
Awesome.
Is that what we
Perfect.
need? Is that what we
Perfect.
need, Dan?
No,
That's
No,
We
we
already
don't need
know.
you.
I have a list. I have the addresses. I know which cages need removing for this
okay.
project.
Oh, fine. Then I just need to give it to Danielle. I just need to have it and give it to the council office. So,
So
okay.
Dan, you'll handle it.
So Laura, which trees exactly are we going to plant? That is the question.
Well, that is also true. So they've now identified 33, but some of them are not on Washington. They're just off of Washington. Also, some of them appear to be replacements. So for example, they're showing us 1819 and 1825 3rd Avenue, which happen to be the trees replacing the trees that the owner of that property had himself planted, but then somebody mowed them down with a car. So there's some living trees and some dead trees. I'm guessing the owner, Ben, might agree to water those trees, but it still adds sites because we were not making the turns, right? We were sticking to the straight line on Washington. So the question would be, can we add trees if someone's agreeing to water them so it doesn't really add to our cost? Because I mean, Elizabeth, you may remember Linda Lee. She used to be she was a long ago WAHA member, and then she left. She lived on Bronson, and then she left, and now she's back, and she's back living with her ex, Ben, and that's so it's Ben Reiniger and Linda Lee who own that commercial building. So I know how to reach them, is what I'm trying to say. It's right across from Surface on the west side of 3rd Street Avenue. But these were added, these turning the corners onto the side streets were added on the list when they did the walkthrough. So the question becomes, do we want to be adding, or do we just not want to be adding?
Well, the funds are for Washington per se, right? Or for
Right.
commercial streets, not for around the corner. Is that not the case?
Yes, well, yeah, that was our goal. These are in the commercial portion of the turn the corners, but we had not looked at turn the corner trees.
Oi, can I say something?
Sure.
So I remember, was it 6 months ago when I signed up to be, Laura, you talked me into being in this committee because you said, Elizabeth, we need 25 trees
Right.
planted. That's all we need. And I said, I don't have time. I don't have the bandwidth, but I will join for 25 trees.
Right.
And then 25 became some kind of project for 64 or something. And it just metastasized, and it just got bigger, and now it's still bigger. And now it's like, I want to simplify as much as possible. And actually, I love the work that we've done. We've done a lot of work on this so far. And Dan has a big list, fantastic comprehensive list, and a slideshow with all the different, the different addresses. So maybe we could have another meeting where we take 40 minutes to go over Dan's existing list, and then I can see on a piece of paper, you could share it like Google Docs, and we could go point by point and say, this one is in front of a commercial building. This one is not, this one is, because abstract talk.
Well, it's not
let me try
abstract.
mine.
Elizabeth, you were sent the same list I was, as was Dan.
Yeah.
This is the KYCC's updated list based on their walkthrough with the inspector. It's just they added to it. And I don't mind saying we can't add to it. I don't mind sticking to the ones we had identified.
But
I'm with Elizabeth. This needs to be concrete,
Sure.
and it's sort of my fault for not taking KYC's new list and putting it on the agenda for us to go through line by line, which is kind of what we need to do, because Laura is Teresa. I've discovered over the months that a decision is not possible without Laura being involved on anything, it seems, because she is so informed. And so we really need to like get that list, go over it with Laura, and then we'll have the list of trees to plant and cages to remove.
Well,
Okay.
I've never said, of course, we would work with Laura. Why would you suggest?
Oh, I'm
that
I'm
we
just
wouldn't
telling you
work
how it
with Laura?
works. I'm not saying that you were opposing.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I'm a little flummoxed though by the comment because the three of us got the list. Teresa wasn't on the email. But in any case, that's fine. We don't need to select the sites today because we still have what? 2/3 of the money to raise. You know, we're
So-
not done yet. We have to figure out, but one of the things about finalizing where we're in agreement on where the trees are going is to then approach the owners that are right there to see if they'll sign the adopted, you know, whatever we want to call it, adopt the watering and maintenance forms. So the longer we don't
Oh.
select, we don't need to do that tonight, but let's.
No, I know it's just such a losing proposition because, you know, people say they're going to do it and then they just don't. And you can email them and call them and they might say, oh yeah, I forgot. And they just don't do it.
Well,
It's just-
our choices are kind of clear. We either come up with a total of $25,000
Right,
or
right,
or
right.
come up with less real money and people sign
Right.
for the tree. So
Right.
that's okay. It doesn't have to have, you know, the update is our the first round of money is in the hopper and is likely to be approved. I mean, so that's
Okay.
my portion of the update. And KYCC's portion of the update was that the building, to their surprise, I think the inspector identified more spots, not fewer. So we're not dealing with struggling to find 25 spots.
Perfect.
We're dealing
perfect. So-
with having to edit down to 25 spots. So
So-
that's right. So Dan, if you
Yeah.
guys don't remember getting this list, I'll send it out.
I have the list.
Okay. And let's just grid it. But if you can send me the addresses on those cages, so at least that piece of it can happen. There's no reason to delay me getting the cage removal list to the council office because that's
Perfect.
going to take a little while. They don't really have their act together. They're not really working together physically at all yet. They've been, you know, in office 6 months and haven't yet had a place to meet in one location. They're all meeting on Zoom pretty much. So,
Okay.
so
Teresa, oh, can I quick move? Teresa, would you be willing to be on a fundraising committee with me?
I'm not sure right now, Elizabeth. I just want to go back to Dan for a second.
Okay.
Dan, you did send me some information. I think you sent me the pictures of the trees that needed the tree wells, the empty tree wells. So Dan has sent me information. I don't know about the gridded thing with KYCC, but I did want to be clear that Dan has sent me information.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
All right, so my action item is to get Laura the addresses for the cages that need removal around the trees that we might want to plant. And Laura, you seem to not mind if it includes some trees that we're not going to plant.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all.
Okay.
Okay, you could put me down for imminently starting a fundraising campaign for neighborhood trees.
Right. And
Because it has to happen.
it has to happen. Harvard Heights will give us a couple $1,000s, just so you know. So long as there's trees, and there are in the Harvard Heights area. And I'm going to
Okay.
keep pushing at LAUSD to see what they can do, if anything.
Right.
And Teresa just raised her hand.
Now, I was just going to say, Elizabeth, you said neighborhood trees. Are you talking about commercial or residential?
These are for our project that we need money for, they'd be commercial corridor trees.
Okay.
But I'll go to the farmer's market and stand there and ask people for money. And I'll go, I'll go to the avenues meeting and I'll go everywhere because people need to be paying for trees. And they need, if this place is gentrifying, then people have to just open their wallets.
Right. So,
Have
and
the
what,
money, they have to give it to us.
right. So
Okay,
right
and
now
I-
we're doing pledges. Chris Carlson is also trying to raise some funds.
Right.
And the other question becomes who's holding the funds? Is it
Right, we need, right.
well, KYCC has every ability to, since they're already going to have to set basically $7,000 aside in a fund. You know, if
Right.
people
I
can
would
make
prefer-
donations to that fund, but that
Right.
would be, so Elizabeth, that would be a question that, you know, you could ask. Are you working with
KYCC.
Christina or are you working with,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's Christina's more handling it now.
okay. Because that'd be nice. If I'm at the farmer's market, I don't want them to send Venmo money to me.
No.
I want them to, I want to say,
No.
send it to at
But we have to
KYCC.
ask KYCC, would they be setting up a fund? So if somebody donates to KYCC, it would say KYCC UNNC fund or whatever they want to name it.
Right, okay,
But do they have that capacity would be the question.
okay.
But let's each of us kind of, even if it sometimes involves talking to KYCC, you know, if you can talk to Christina and say, who do I talk to? And if I have other things with the NPG, I can also talk to Christina, but I separate myself from that.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we've killed this tree, as it were.
Good.
Here.
So I'm just now sending Teresa the document that she didn't have, the one from KYCC,
Got it.
for her own reference. And I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow, and I will try and spend some time on the plane whittling down just the list of cage addresses for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so where was we? I guess the next thing was Tree Summit recap.
Okay. I have a couple of things I want to say. I want to give the recap, but I want to talk about this other stuff first. Laura, can I share my screen?
Absolutely. Let me make you a co-host. There you go.
Thanks. Let me just find these documents, sorry. We have, you guys may already know this, so if so, that's great. Are you guys looking at my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there are two things I want to share. One is this, it's part of Streets LA, and they have a link where you can go in, you can see all the trees that are in your area. We have our tree inventory is going to start. Here's the next link. It's supposed to be second quarter. Here we are down here. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but they're going to do an inventory of all of our trees. And when they do, it'll be posted here. And I have it somewhere. It's hard for me to see. It'll be posted in this graphic here. And you can see the areas that have already been identified. And we'll be able to see all the trees that are in our neighborhood. There are some that are already identified at Benny Potter Park, but all of our trees will be identified. So I don't know if you guys knew that or know that, if you've been to these sites. Yes, no?
I've never seen this site. That's really interesting. I mean, I definitely walked around with somebody a decade ago to identify the trees in Benny Potter Park, but that was some while ago.
Well, this is the new one that's going to be taking place. I guess it's under Mayor Garcetti's new Green Deal. But anyway, all of our trees are going to be identified. And I say that to say that we're talking about planting 25 trees here, and we just put some on Jefferson. Maybe we need to have a comprehensive plan for what we want our urban forest to look like in the UNNC area. So I say that to now go into the notes from the give you guys kind of a recap of the tree summit. So the mayor, as you know, wants to plant 90,000 new trees. He already has planted 46,000, and they want to try to do the rest. He's allocated an additional $4 million for low income and low canopy areas. I don't know if we will qualify, but there's extra water. He's also working on a sustainable water and gray water initiative. So I don't know how we can get some water, but if they have gray water available, that certainly we can try to use that to maybe plant our own trees. I mean, water our own trees. He said, and several presenters talked about shade and equity. And just kind of like a side note on that, one of the presenters from USC mentioned that you can tell an area, the affluence of an area, by the tree canopy. So I know we have some trees, and in the residential area, some of our blocks have a lot of trees, but compared to other neighborhoods, we do not have a beautiful tree canopy. The first presenter was a doctor from UC Davis, I think. He talked about the science of trees, how they photosynthesize, how they do carbon sequestration, and what happens during a drought. And what we're experiencing is not only a drought, but higher temperatures. So that makes it even more difficult for the trees to overcome drought circumstances. So we have to understand that it's going to be very difficult for our trees to overcome droughts. The other thing, and this is what when I was talking to Laura about, do we have a policy or a statement on trees? She mentioned that she thought that our main thing was to use native trees. Well, this professor made a really good point that maybe we could think about using trees that, because we're in a drought and we're going to be experiencing, because of global climate change, increased heat in our community. There's a possibility that we can look at trees that already exist and have already flourished in areas that are drier and hotter. So I kind of got stuck when I was writing, kind of putting together this little policy statement. We're going to use native trees, but maybe using native trees is not the best idea. Maybe we need to broaden that somehow. So that's when I was like, I can't write this paper because I don't know do we really want to stick with that policy that we should use native trees. Trees need water. Pardon me? Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I think the idea with native trees was that they survive drought better.
Yes, but if we also know that, I mean, I'm not against native trees. Yes, of course. But if we know that in 5 years, 10 years, our climate our temperature is going to increase, why not look at trees that are already existing in those that climate already? I don't know. It's just a thought. I'm just throwing it out there. When the temperature is over 106 degrees, trees cannot photosynthesize. So they can't, not only can they not do carbon sequestration, they don't release oxygen either.
Wow.
And last year we had, I don't know, several days over 106 degrees. It becomes very difficult for the trees at that point. Also, as a side note, and when trees are, when they lack water, they're more susceptible to disease and insects, destruction from insects. This professor also liked the idea of water bags, and I know we talked about that before.
Yeah,
when we were talking about the watering in Jefferson. trees on Jefferson. The good thing about water bags is that when they're depleted, and young trees need to be watered more frequently, not as much water, but more frequently. When they're depleted, the homeowner, or I don't know if we would use them on Washington or not, but someone can see that they are empty, and then that may remind them that they need to be watered. The second part of the conference was a presentation from USC. They have USC Tree Initiative, which was unbelievable. And I have, I don't know if you guys have seen it or if you're up to date, but I have a video that they, it's 4 minutes, so I don't know if we have enough time to see it. Maybe I can post the link in the chat. But excuse me, explaining what they're doing. And it is a phenomenal program. They're doing it in Lincoln Heights and 2 other communities around there. They put up sensors to determine how much air pollution is accumulating in that area. And they talked about, because there's so much concrete there, the heat there, and how the tree canopy can cool the houses. And a lot of the houses there don't have central air conditioning or any air conditioning, and how that will help the residents there. Their phase 2, they just completed phase 1. Phase 2, they're going to be doing a geographical expansion, and they're going to be researching tree species and other ways to mitigate air pollution. And I bring this part up to say that they are going to be engaging in the community with their research and their data. And if we want to use that to help plan our urban forest. And then there was the last part about something that the Expo line, there was a part of the Expo line that went through Westwood, and how they, instead of putting in parking spaces, they put in a park area, which was not as interesting to me. So that is the main thing I have to say about that.
So Teresa did a great recap. Of course, I was very interested in that, the greening on, it's really between Overland and Westwood Boulevard, and then a little past Westwood Boulevard. But I was pissy-wissy about the whole thing, because that money was from many years ago when we, meaning people, neighborhoods along the Expo line, were granted $3.1 million. And I did wonder where the bike path ever got actually built. And, that's where it was, it wasn't over here. So I know where that money went. So, but yes, this USC Urban Initiative was great. To share that, Teresa, I think you need to enable something, unless you've done it, enable something in, let's see if
No, I think I don't know if we want to, it's 4 minutes long, so I don't know if you guys want to watch that or not. I'm not offended if you don't,
It's up to Elizabeth and Dan. I think it's terrific. I did see it with you. So
It's only
wouldn't
4
mind.
minutes. I'm good.
Pardon me? Is that
I
a
wouldn't
yes?
mind. Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
We can't hear it.
yeah, there's a way to enable something. No,
You still can't hear it?
right. I think you need to enable video somehow at the bottom of your screen on the video settings. But okay.
Let me just
what you need
ask
to do.
James. Oh, let me ask James, because he's really good at this. So maybe he can tell me how to enable the video. Just a second.
When you click on share screen and pick the thing you want to share, there's also a share sound button in the lower left corner of the share selection window.
Okay.
So you need to unshare. Does she need to unshare and then reshare?
Yeah, unshare, reshare,
Okay,
and before you click which window you want to share, click sound too.
okay, so Lori's doing it. I stopped sharing. She's gonna do
No, I'm
So I
not doing it.
stopped
I'm not
sharing.
doing it. We're just trying to tell you how to do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I stopped sharing.
So start sharing again, only this time, before you say, yeah, this is the window I want to share, look down at the bottom of that list of windows, and there ought to be a
Oh,
check
share
mark
sound?
for
Yeah.
share sound.
Share sound. Okay. Okay. Let's see if this works.
We're all going to be expert at Zoom, and then we get to meet in person
Climate
again.
change is driving temperatures higher in Los
You guys hear
Angeles.
Yes.
Trees can help us keep the heat, but it's not as simple as digging a hole and planting a tree. We need to know what kinds of trees to plant, where to plant them, and how many to plant. Convened by the USC Dornsife Public Exchange, the USC Urban Trees Initiative set out to provide the answers. Findings from the initiative will guide the city's program to plant an urban forest in the east side communities of Lincoln Heights, El Sereno, and Ramona Gardens.
When it comes to combating extreme heat, trees are the most cost-effective way of doing that. Which species are the best species, most effective? What are the best investments for our city as it becomes hotter and drier, but we still want to live here?
Trees are a tremendous tool for us to address these urban issues of air quality and urban heat, as well as provide many other benefits like beautifying our communities. So how can we be thoughtful in those investments, and how can we meet the mayor's goal?
We're focused on those neighborhoods that are impacted by the highest air pollution. And our partners at USC are also researching canopy inequity and the potential impacts on the air quality near their health sciences campus just down the street here in Lincoln Heights.
The value that we bring to this project is creating a strategic decision-making process, a vision, before we go out there and dig holes and put trees in them. What are the most beneficial trees and where are they needed most?
The partnership with USC has allowed us to take a couple different lenses. We've got the lens of science through spatial sciences, we've got earth science, and we've got landscape architecture, and the community engagement component all together informing each other.
Community involvement was critical in the development of the Urban Tree Initiative. And we found that establishing a dialogue with them instead of a monologue really is going to help the research. And it was really going to help the university move forward, working with not only our local neighbors, but working with our elected officials to develop urban tree canopy that's going to benefit everyone in the neighborhood.
You have large swaths of the city that lack green cover, and green cover is going to bring you benefits in terms of health, in terms of shade, in terms of mitigating air pollution.
We've got a dozen sensors that we want to position around school buildings and let that be part of a network that tells us the quality of air on the neighborhood scale within LA. Behind me is Bravo High School in this study area that we're working in, and this is the location where we'd like to put at least one of these sensors and get some sense of what it means to be in an area that's, for example, rather close to the freeway.
I really want to make sure that we get this right. When we talk about planting 90,000 trees, when we talk about increasing tree canopy cover in our neighborhoods, we want to make sure that we're making really smart investments, that we're not just planting, but that we're thinking about what we want to get from those trees, what urban issues we want to address, what habitat value we want to increase in our neighborhoods.
Planting trees on streets and parks, creating urban cooling with trees is way more cost effective. The only thing is, it takes some time to get those trees to be big enough to create that shade. It's not as quick as building a building.
But with a few strategic investments, you could begin to build destinations, which among other things would bring benefits in terms of social engagement, in terms of active lifestyles, all kinds of things.
So that was that. I just thought it was really interesting. I don't know if we had a plan on which trees are the best ones for our community, or if it's just the 10 trees that KYCC recommends.
So KYCC has some really good tree people that I think when we met with them, Laura and Elizabeth, I think one of them used to work at Tree People, actually. Is that the case?
I thought both of them had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of trust the recommendations, but I put in the chat a link to the approved street tree list from Tree People. It's the city's list, but I found it at Tree People. Do you, Elizabeth or Laura, do you happen to remember what they said about which trees they recommended?
I don't. What I do remember in these myriad discussions is that they're now the bigger they of the world, tree world, is they're now recommending not planting all the same trees, so
Yeah.
that if it, they're trying to do like every other tree would be a different tree,
Right.
so that if there's a disease, it doesn't wipe out an entire block, because they're spaced far enough apart when they're every other.
Yep.
So which is an interesting concept. And we have, Washington Boulevard is sort of, we're free to help choose. Some of the other streets like Crenshaw and parts of Jefferson have an actual plan that's been adopted by the city. Meaning a bigger streetscape plan that's been adopted by the city, but Washington does not. So I hear Teresa's point, and I heard the doctor say it too, that, we really need to plan for a future where we're even more of a desert. He didn't say the word desert, but where we're hotter. And, but I have a question for anyone who knows the answer, maybe Elizabeth. Is one of the reasons why we've been focused on native trees, I know with native plants, is because of which birds, which bugs they attract. Is that also true for the native trees?
I believe
Yes.
it's as they say, holistic. It's both that and and the fact that they're adapted to this climate without lots of watering.
If you think of Catalina is like a desert island, it got no rain the whole summer. It would be, dry kind of place. And they're adapted. They're bright green and lush all year round. Catalina ironwoods, Catalina cherries. And there's a couple of different reasons why LA doesn't plant a lot of them. Catalina cherry is litters. It drops cherries. And I believe, they won't talk about it, but I believe that the city of Los Angeles doesn't want to plant live oaks because when they get to be, I believe it's 8 centimeters diameter or radius, I'm not sure, they are protected. So then the city cannot chop them down if they grow to see certain thing. And I think that the city of Los Angeles wants the latitude that if DWP wants to take something down, they have that option. Teresa.
Also, yeah, I think the root zone for those oak trees is way past their branches. Normally,
ideally, ideally they would have that, but all up and down Vermont are cork oaks. The city has planted cork oaks, so I don't know why a cork oak would have any less root intrusion or root spread. Maybe it does, but I have seen it, and they planted a bunch of cork oaks in Arlington Heights too, in front of okay, I don't remember his name now. Yeah, Dan.
So I looked at the document from KYCC, and they say which tree they want to plant at each location. So we have some recommendations already from them specific for each location.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess the question is, maybe we should all look at it and see if we have any questions about those proposed species.
Right. Great,
Right.
that sounds good. I'm not going to die on the hill of natives. I'm not going to fight that too hard.
Right.
I planted
Well,
10 oaks in my yard, so.
Right. Well, they're saying I mean, this is in no particular order. Chinese pistache, African
Pistache.
pistache, African sumac, golden rain tree, Australian willow, a camphor tree, which surprises me because it too has a big root spread. Pink trumpet, Brisbane box. I'm not seeing anything else.
Okay. All trees can be beautiful when they're grown. If they grow to full size, they could be
Yeah.
amazing.
Right. No, but I'm surprised about the camphor because
Right.
I mean, they're beautiful trees, but they
Right.
definitely have roots that kind of go on and on.
Huh.
One of my favorite trees, actually, but they definitely have roots that go on and on and on. So, and anyway, so I don't know what each of those trees looks like. And do they have true canopies or not when full grown? I mean, you know, to me, one of the issues is, will we achieve getting a canopy? So every time somebody proposes planting a bottle brush tree, I just cringe.
Yeah, I do have a concern. None of the trees they recommended are native, and that does
Right.
bother me.
Right. So
And I just want to say about the bottle brush, I know a lot of people don't like them, but the bees and hummingbirds
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah.
Love
That's
them.
true.
So
Yeah.
if we're trying to be holistic,
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
The bottle
I
brush.
grew up with a bottle brush in right outside of my front door in Studio City, and there were times of year where we kids coming home from school had to go around to the back door because you just couldn't walk up the front steps and into the front door because there were so many bees. So the thing about placing bottle brush as a street tree where people need to walk up and down the street, that's the issue. I don't cringe at the idea of bottle brush. I cringe at the idea of bottle brush as a street tree because it just takes one bee sting for a person who's allergic to, you know. I mean, you
How
know,
do you feel about the desert willow? That one is native and it attracts hummingbirds, and it doesn't talk about attracting bees or anything.
Is that the Palo Verde?
I don't know. It's I'm looking at the tree people list that I put in the chat.
well,
yeah.
There's a lot of cross-referencing. I don't think we can do this tonight. I mean, part of it is the size of the well. Part of it is the depth of the sidewalk. I mean, you know, in other words, not all trees. I mean, some of our sidewalks and the wells may be all the same size, but they might be in a skinny ass spot on Washington versus one that has 12 feet. So, so some of their choices likely relate to the, I'm not going to say size of a parkway, but the size of that space. But again, my goal would be which of these create an actual shady canopy in 5 or 10 years, because they're not going to have a canopy in the first 2 years. Teresa?
I guess, yeah, would like some clarification. Are we looking for trees that have a canopy? Are we looking for trees for air pollution mitigation? What is the goal of these trees?
Shade. I think shade is the number one thing because that's how we fight the heat island effect. Number two would be, you know, making the
beautification.
I would care more about the impact on the birds and the bees, as it were. I want to encourage them, but that's just me.
So our selection, just so I understand, our first thing is to find trees or select trees that are going to combat the urban heat island effect. Yes.
Well, I think number one is they have to survive. So they've got to be drought tolerant.
Right. So we don't want to plant
to be drought tolerant initially.
Yeah. We're talking over each other.
Okay. But so we're trying to get trees that give us a cool canopy when we're walking down the street, and eventually they will be drought tolerant because we know we're going to experience droughts.
Drought tolerant is an inherent property of the tree. It doesn't change with time. The species is either drought tolerant or it's not.
But no 1-year-old tree is drought tolerant.
Yeah.
It takes about 5 years, I think, right?
Yeah, unless you select a drought tolerant species, for instance, a native species,
Mhm.
it will not become drought tolerant as time goes on.
Right, okay, I got that. Based on the 10 trees that we just talked about, the main thing we want from that tree in 10 years is for it to have a canopy that will cool the sidewalks.
I
And
think
then
so.
secondly, that will provide a home to birds or nectar to insects or something like that.
Mhm.
And I guess, yeah, and I think it's not just that they're drought tolerant or not drought tolerant, but they need to have a good survivability rate. I mean, we also have, smog. I mean, we don't want to be planting a third round of trees. This is our second round. We and it's not just on Washington Boulevard. I mean, it's UNNC planted Washington Boulevard, and it's disappointing that if we planted 100 trees, there's already 25 or more that are dead
Yeah.
out of 100. But
Yeah.
but also the city planted magnolias up and down Arlington, and they're mostly dead. So magnolias have no survivability in this. I'm not even making a comment as to whether they're native or not native, have the propensity to have a canopy or not have a canopy. They're just all dead. So we wouldn't want to plant them again.
Okay, but I just want to understand, you just said that there are 10 trees that KYCC wants to use. None of them are native, which means that that they don't have inherent drought tolerance to them. So if drought tolerance is our main goal, why would we use those trees?
Oh, can I say something? Oh, I agree with you, Teresa, and I've been in this fight before. It's a fight. I don't want it to be a fight, but so what I did with some trees along Expo line is, I did my homework. I went to the meeting and I fought for what I could.
And you got it though, right?
I got Palo Verde, which are, I think at this point, yeah, they were a hybrid native and they were planted all up and down. I didn't get everything that I wanted. I got some Palo Verde or a fair amount. And so I think if we have that meeting, and so Dan will go over one by one the well and what KYCC wants to plant there. And we can have another option for each well. I think we have to say, we think that this would do well there. And then we think that would go well. I recommend that some of the wells we say, thank you, we like that choice, we'll go with it.
Right.
We're not going to win every tree well, but I think we should argue for some. Because if we don't experiment with some natives here, and the city says no natives, and if we don't experiment and show them that it actually can be done well, then we won't have those data points to show them. Dan, and then Laura.
First, KYCC probably recommended drought tolerant trees. They're not dumb.
Okay, sure.
Second, where did you get the idea that the city didn't want native trees?
Because that's their actions. Because every single time they've told me, native trees don't work because it's urban. And then I go up to Pasadena and I see live oaks on the street in a tree well. So there's a disconnect there. And my read is that they like that argument and they're not willing to try it out. So I think if we try to argue for a few live oaks up and down our streets, and then it shows that they work, we'll have a data point that says, look, it didn't ruin everything. But we have to show that. They won't let us have them.
I'm not sure why you say.
Well, let's
that.
try it. Let's try it, Dan. Let's ask for a live oak and see what they say. Or what else? What other native do you think you want? Palo Verde is great, but it doesn't provide a lot of shade.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If we know what our priorities are, then we can just build it from there. If the priority is native, if the priority is drought tolerant, if the priority is cooling, canopy, then we can say, okay, well, this is the main thing. So let's start from there. And, I don't know. I don't know if the city says no native trees. I'm not doubting you, Elizabeth, but I just can't imagine them saying, no, we're not going to do natives. Why would they say that? You know what I mean? It doesn't even feel right.
Because they've been told not to. Yeah.
By whom? But who would tell them not to use natives? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, noting that there's more than one them. For this project, what KYCC is envisioning is trees from city plants, right? So they may
Yes.
not have all the trees that we desire. So we don't necessarily need to have all the trees don't need to be free. If we want to say, look, we want these 10 trees, but we'll have to buy them. We'll just need to go get, I mean, the tree itself doesn't cost that much money, right?
Their list is pretty big. I suspect if we look at it, we'll find
Right.
trees we like.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's this, we're going to have to be merging different sources to see, what it is. It may be that some of these trees on the list are already designated because they were previously designated from the first round of planting in the mix of what's planted, or maybe not, because again, so many trees died. Is it that there was a disease that captured the trees, so that maybe we're not supposed to be planting the same ones that are already there? And we need to see on this list if they're planting the same trees or different trees, because if it's all the same, then we have a really good argument in favor of what we're saying is, oh no, let's try an experiment. We don't need matchy. Let's just have a different tree on this spot. I do happen to personally like matchy on a block.
Me too.
I think it's nice to have a block of flowering pears and then a block of sycamores, neither of which are on this list. But we need to figure out why they're saying what they're saying and who's saying it, because I'm not sure it's KYCC. It might have been the inspector from the urban forestry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from my experience, I simply think if we ask, if I think live oak is on the list, and we'll just ask for a couple of live oaks and see what they say.
Sure. All right. Dan was having his hands up too. We're all calling on each other. Very polite.
I just learned that, so my oak has powdery mildew.
Uh-oh.
But if I spray some neem oil on it, I can help work it through.
Yes. You might want to do that in the fall. I don't know. You could probably spray it on now, but I've put neem oil on my, I have 2 trees that I've used it on, but I do it in the fall, not in the summer because it's too hot. But I don't know.
Well, it's especially going to be too hot starting tomorrow. Dan has something to say.
So I'm going to email KYCC. I propose to email KYCC and say, so I noticed that your spreadsheet had some tree choices. We noticed that none of them are native and none of them are live oak. We discussed, here are our priorities, can we adjust things?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Great.
I'm sitting back. I've already done all the administrative stuff I needed to do with them. So I think I have a break. They don't need to hear from me for a little while.
Okay.
So that would be now Elizabeth and has her fundraising thing and Dan has his tree choice thing with them. And so they're hearing different things from different of us, and that's good.
Okay.
So Teresa, I know that we had talked about maybe even coming up with a policy statement, but I think at 9:20 at night, that's probably not gonna happen.
But informally, we do have priorities. We want trees that will survive. We prefer native shady trees, and Elizabeth would like a few live oaks.
Right, well, well, you're being specific to this, our project, Washington Boulevard, but in terms of a tree policy, ultimately what I'd like to develop is a policy I can hand as a land use chair to a developer.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
before you finalize your landscape plan for the, to turn into the planning department, here's what UNNC has voted on, something in writing. So we're not going to do that tonight. But
No. But I think I'd like to include in what we can recommend for homeowners too.
Sure.
I have a couple
Nice.
native, yes, everybody knows you can get free trees from city plants, and all you have to do is water them. But if we have, an outreach, I'm just talking here, some kind of outreach to let them know that not only will your air conditioning bill be reduced, your property value will increase, your air quality, especially because with the avenues, we're so close to the 10. We get a lot of particulate matter, and those things, if we could do some kind of outreach to the neighbors to let them know the benefits of having trees, that could be part of our policy too.
As a guy who gets into trouble for promising too much frequently, I would suggest that we focus on the most clear benefit, and that's shade. The rest are all kind of maybes.
Hey, I don't know. I just learned for the first time in my life, learned how to make salmon. And I've discovered that if you roast it, in the oven wrapped in foil with lemons, it's really, really easy. And Meyer lemons are better than the other lemons. So now I want a Meyer lemon tree. I want to have an orchard that has a Meyer lemon tree in it, not because it's my last name, but because they're so much sweeter to roast with your fish. And, I don't think that's a bad thing to talk to people about trees that create edibles. In other words, the history of Los Angeles, there's more history of people planting edibles than people planting shade trees back in the day. But going forward, we need to plant shade, we need the natives, but I think we also might want to talk about orchard trees. But that's not policy, that's a kind of almost an outreach document. I mean, in other words, we're talking about a lot of different things, but it'd be nice to develop it. Whatever it is, it'd be nice to develop something.
Right. So we might have different suggestions for street trees and for orchard trees.
Correct. And in terms of for land use and developments, they do the street trees, but they also do trees on their projects. That there's trees that are not street trees that they're planting. I mean, in other words, we have told developers that we prefer native plants, but that's as far, we haven't actually had a written policy to hand them. I think when Elizabeth was on the board, we sort of voted that we prefer native plants, and I think we did a board vote, and there's no sunset on it, but I also have no document related to it. We didn't actually create a document, and a document is so much better. So
they just naturally do. Yeah, they just they're so healthy, so easily.
Okay. Well, anyway, so that's a good goal, but I don't think we can do it tonight.
We're all so tired.
I would just like to say for the record that at my house, I have loquats, avocados, oranges, lemons.
But you have Meyer
persimmon.
lemon. Meyer lemon or regular lemons?
I wouldn't know. Persimmons and figs, and I may be forgetting one. Peach, and grapefruit.
So here's my sad story. It turns out those kind of trees don't necessarily live for 4 or 5 decades, because I had most of those, or I planted some of those, but I only really now have the loquat and a persimmon tree. And because one by one, some of it was my avocado bit the dust with the drought, but the other ones just have a useful life, and it turns out it's about 25 years.
Yeah.
I've been there
Dan, are
38.
you going to bring fruit to when we meet in person?
Depends on the season, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've beaten the tree policy discussion into the dirt for the moment. Do we have anything else to talk about?
There's something else on the agenda.
Well, suggestions for future meetings.
Right. Well, Dan, I know you guys you and Elizabeth wanted to also have some meetings that weren't about trees, but about sustainability or climate change or anything else. So,
Yes, but not now, not until we get the trees in the ground.
okay.
Plastics, trash. My current pet peeve is the overflowing trash cans on Washington.
I think they've funded to take care of it. I think the new budget
Good.
takes care of it.
Good. I hope
I've
they take
learned
it
too
away.
much. I've learned too much about street garbage cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's make it an agenda item for next meeting. And I want to go early, 4 minutes early tonight.
All right. I'm just sniffling my way through this meeting is what I'm doing.
All right. Well, were you proposing an agenda item for next time, Elizabeth?
Yeah. Could we talk
Because
about
I wasn't.
No, you weren't. You know what? I don't need to. But you said
Okay.
you guys said that it was handled. So, but I'd like to look into it. But I'm not going to look into it. I'm glad somebody's handling it. I got to go. I'm so tired.
Okay. Well, it's 9:27. I, as chair, use my plenipotentiary powers to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. It's been great.
It's been great. Glad to have you on board, Teresa. Nice to see
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
We need more people like you to become experts in this.
Yeah.
Let's get the
Elizabeth,
Carter
you got to
people.
get Marius to come to these meetings.
All right.
Oh, and you know what? Did you hear Janie is moving to New Mexico?
Really, Janie Williams.
Yeah, she withdrew from, well, actually she tied, so I don't know what's going to happen, but she tied with somebody on the election. So it's two people, same number of votes. So the clerk is saying, oh yeah, we'll have to draw straws. And it's like, but she withdrew. She's moving to New Mexico.
Wow.
She won't be on this committee, unfortunately.
Right.
Get Marius back in the game here.
Okay. All right. I'll do what I can.
All right.
Right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Everybody, good night. Thank you.
And I stay on till the end. There we go. End.